We're good.
Okay, so now we are at take two. We can go ahead and start our check-in. So again, Kerr, we'll start with you tonight.
All right, is this on? There we go. So I'm Kerr Fazone. I'm the Chief Negotiator and Director for the Teachers Association of Lee County. I'm doing fine. I don't think we have any missing. And I have no time constraints, no elephants, and expectations to make more progress.
My name is Kevin Daly. I'm the president of the Teachers Association of Lee County. Missing's been noted, no time constraints, no elephants. I'll go with Kerr. We're going to make some more progress tonight.
Good afternoon, I'm Jill Castellano. I am the Vice President for the Teachers Association of Lee County and a full-time peer collaborative teacher at East Lee County High School. I'm doing quite well. I don't have any time constraints. I have no elephants. It looks like the missing is noted. And my expectation is to make more progress.
Hi, I am Anna Witten. I am a kindergarten teacher at Colonial Elementary. I am also the Teachers Association of Lee County Secretary. I am doing well. I have no time constraints. I do believe from our side, Christine Carberry is watching via the live stream. I have no elephants, and my expectation today is to stay on topic.
Good afternoon. My name is Samantha Howard. I'm an art teacher from Mariner High. I'm also a TALC area coordinator for Area 2. I'm fine. I have no time constraints. Missing's been noted, no elephants, and my expectation as well is to stay on topic.
Hello, my name is Christina Lindner. I'm an ESE teacher at Villas Elementary. I don't have any time constraints. Missing's been noted, no elephants, expectation to make more progress.
Hello, my name is Amy Johnson. I am from Mariner Middle School. I'm doing fine today. No time constraints, no elephants that I have at least. Missing's been noted, and my expectation is to make more progress.
Good afternoon, I'm Christina Starrett. I teach kindergarten through 5th grade art at Tortuga Preserve Elementary School, and I'm doing well. I have no time constraints, no elephants, missing is noted, and I'm, again, going with make progress.
Good afternoon, my name is Bob Scapitulo. I teach math at Three Oaks Middle School, and I'm also on the executive board for TALC. And I'm doing fantastic. No time constraints, no elephants. Missing has been noted, and my expectations is to continue to persevere.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sheena Torres Nunez, and I'm a school social worker serving as the district's homeless liaison. I'm doing well, no time constraints, no elephants, missing has been noted, and my expectation is to make progress.
I'm Will Rothenberg. I'm Director of Compensation and Labor Relations for the district. I'm doing well, no time constraints, no elephants. Missing has been noted. Expectation would be to stay on topic.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Pruitt, Chief Human Resources Officer, Chief Negotiator for the district. I am okay, no time constraints, no elephants, and I can't see who's on there for missing, but Bonnie's missing, so I don't know if that's on there. And expectation is to make progress. Another note, we've been asked that if you please don't remove your mask when you speak into the microphone tonight. People were concerned about you breathing on the top of the microphone or what have you. So that's going to be tough for me, but I'm going to try to adhere to that. So I just wanted to remind everyone.
Good afternoon. My name is Heather Leonard. I'm the Director of Staffing and Talent Management. I'm doing well today. I don't have any time constraints or any elephants. I believe the missing have been noted, and my expectations are to continue making progress together tonight.
Kimberly Hutchins, Director of Payroll. I'm good. No time constraints, no elephants, missing noted, and expectation, make progress.
Okay, I'm Carl Burnside. I'm fine. I'm a principal at Dunbar High School. Fine, no time constraints, no elephants, and hopefully won't get one tonight. Missing's been noted, and the expectation is, I like the one about staying on topic.
Hello, my name is Amy Desamore. I am fine, no time constraints, no elephants. My expectations are that we continue to make progress. And on just a personal note, I just wanted to thank each of you who have reached out with your thoughts and prayers for my mom. I appreciate it. She did have a stroke, but she is recovering. So thank you so much for your thoughts. I truly appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Christine Schroed. I am a staff attorney, doing well tonight. I don't have any time constraints, missing have been noted, no elephants, and my expectations are to make progress and stick with negotiable issues. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Ben Osman. I'm the principal of Bayshore Elementary School. I'm doing well. I don't have any time constraints, no elephants, missing is noted, and the expectation I want to stay on topic.
Hello, I am Rachel Gould. I am the principal of Mariner Middle School. I'm doing well, no time constraints, no elephants, and stay on topic.
Hello, I'm Jessica Duncan, Executive Director of Student Services. I'm doing well tonight. I have no time constraints, no elephants, missing are noted. My expectation is to also to stay on topic.
Hi, I'm Mike Gatewood, Director of Financial Services. I'm doing fine. I have no time constraints, no elephants. Missing is noted, and my expectation is to stay on topic.
Good afternoon, my name is Donna Montanaro. I'm doing just fine, no time constraints, and my expectation is to help you get through all of the above.
I'm Amy French. Haven't done this in a long time. I'm doing well. I don't have any time constraints or any elephants. Missing, I have no idea. So that's up there. My expectation is to stay on topic.
And hello, my name is Brian Evers. I'm the Director of Innovation Services. I'm fine. I have no time constraints or elephants. Missing has been noted, and I hope to help you get through as much of this as we can. And thank you, Angela, for the reminder about the mask. That's one thing I didn't then have to do. So with that, I think we're going to start with the form. Is that? Okay, so tonight we're going to start with the form that we have. Angela wanted to show that to you, so I will turn that over to her.
Okay, I thought we were going to finish quarantine rooms and then do the
we
form.
can do that first. Okay. So I guess we will finish quarantine rooms first and then go to the form. Where are we with quarantine rooms? Are we still at Story or are we?
Had some questions regarding quarantine room.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know we discussed it the other night, and Beth Whiff isn't here today, but hopefully if we can't get your questions answered, Angela said she would happily get answers for you.
She said she can't answer the question. I had a question. What exactly are the COVID symptoms for staffs and students to be quarantined? I have concerns that we have some students and staff members who have chronic allergies, chronic sinus problems. Are those people going to be automatically quarantined? Or are they going to never be questioned about symptoms? So I guess I'm just looking for some guidance as to what exactly we're calling COVID symptoms for quarantine.
Well, they would be the ones that are currently listed, like when you sign into Lee Clock every day. Those are the symptoms. And those are the ones that will be monitored. As far as people who have a chronic situation, I would guess that they would, if it's a student, they would somehow document that with the school nurse. And if it's a staff member, I guess they could do the same thing or talk with their principal.
Thank you.
Yeah?
So this past weekend, I spent some time talking directly to my school nurse just to kind of get some insight on some practices that take place currently and just asked her some questions involving the quarantine room. So from my understanding is that our school nurses currently are the ones who train our clinic assistants with whatever procedures are needed on the school site. So one of my questions I would have would be, is that school nurse also responsible for training that employee that would be covering the quarantine room? And a follow-up to that is, from my understanding, according to my school nurse, is that the clinic assistant and the backup clinic assistants that are trained technically fall under the licensing of the school nurse. So is it possible for the school nurse to be involved with the principals at their school site in that selection of who will be in that isolation room if it is not the clinic assistant, in order to almost like a recommendation, just touching base with that principal as they go through that selection process?
My immediate response is that I would have to get back with you on that. And I say that because I believe that unless there's a change, schools already have identified their clinic assistant and their backup. And if we're talking about additional backups, then I don't see why there would be an issue with the nurse and the principal collaborating on that.
Okay, thank you. Bob?
Yeah, the couple of questions I want to ask is, what happens if no one picks up the child that's sent to the isolation room? And my second question is, do all the isolation rooms have bathroom facilities?
Okay, I'll have to get you those answers, and I would like to say, if you have these kind of questions that aren't related to like bargainable issues, I'm happy to get you the answers. That's what I told Kevin, if you guys can collect all those, and I'll get you those answers.
Anything else on the isolation quarantine rooms?
I would just request that the team throughout the night get those questions, and if you can give them to me before the, at the end of the night, I will get you the answers.
Okay, thank you, Angela. Okay.
I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see it, so.
All right.
But I'm gonna do my best and I'll talk you through it, even if you can't see the exact.
Okay, and with that being the end of the quarantine room, we will now turn it over for the forum for Angela.
And the timeline right now is that we will have a principal meeting tomorrow at 8:30, show it to the principals, and then hit send as soon as the principal meeting is over. That is our timeline at this time, unless something dramatically changes that. So there would be a joint communication that we would develop. Will would work with Kevin and Kerr on the language that would be on the joint communication about this document going out. I would have an email that would, and it could be the joint communication if we want to do it that way, but there would be an email that would go with this link. So like they wouldn't get this link cold, okay? So the first thing is the employee would, fill out their name and their employee ID. And I had them put in there how you could find out your employee ID if you don't know what it is, because some teachers never know what that is. And then the first thing that you're going to be asked is if you have more than one instructional position with the district, because I want to give you a vision of what's happening on the other side. On the other side of this, there's going to be this big, huge database where each school will have their own sheet, which will be populated with all of their instructional staff. And that's where HR and the principals can only see their sheet. They can't see the other sheets. And we will be in real time updating responses as we get them from employees. And so there'll be nothing on there. It won't tell what the person's, medical situation is. It won't tell what their high risk, like it won't have any of that identifying information to the school itself. It will just say, like Lee Home Connect, reassigned to Lee Virtual, face-to-face, accommodation coming, something like that. So that's what the schools will see. Is that, and then the schools can also update in real time, like if I'm not getting a response back from a teacher, because they may think, well, I'm coming back, I don't need to fill that out. Then Rachel could go in there and put, okay, spoke to Susie Smith and she's coming back face to face. Because our goal obviously would be to get every instructional staff member and some kind of status next to that at each of the schools. Then we're going to ask you what your certification is and add your certifications. We are going to cross-reference that because we just want to make sure that's accurate. That'll be critical to anyone that's going to be reassigned to Lee Virtual to know what that is. And probably the first thing I want to point out is when you select your instructional position, this is every instructional position is listed here in the district. And if you are like an occupational therapist, a school psychologist, et cetera, like we talked about, you're going to go to a different screen, which I'll show you, because you won't have the same choices, if you will, that a classroom teacher will have. So let's go through what a classroom teacher will see. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Okay, so if I'm a classroom teacher, and then I would select my location, my certification, then the first thing I'm going to ask you is whether you intend to return to work or you do not, yes or no. And I get that it may be a maybe, but, so you would say, I plan to return to work, but let me just kind of see what my options are. But if I'm really thinking, you know what, I want to take a leave, I'm not really comfortable, whatever that may be, so they select no. And then if you aren't planning to come back to work, you basically have 4 options. You can resign, you can retire, you can request a leave of absence, or some additional leave benefits. And so let's say I decide, you know what, I think I want to retire. Then we tell you, what is your very next step? Like, what is it I have to do to accomplish whatever my choice is, so that we can make it, you know, kind of as easy as possible. Same thing, if I'm going to resign, what do I need to do? If I'm going to request like a leave of absence, extended leave of absence, or I'm pregnant and I don't even want to do the virtual option. Like, I've really thought about it and that's just not what I want to do. Then you can have all of your options here and then what you need to do. For example, if you're pregnant and you don't even want to consider a virtual option, you need to get a doctor's statement and make sure you get that to your principal or your supervisor. So that's kind of the no options and how that looks. Now, let's go to our yes, I plan to return to work. Now what happens? So if I have my face-to-face and that's my option, I can either say it's my highest, medium, lowest, or like we talked about, I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm not even entertaining face-to-face. So I don't even wanna rank that option. But even if I'm face-to-face, I may want to fill out an ADA form because I may want to say that due to whatever, I want a plastic shield on my desk, or I want, I'm requesting something that I'm going to have an ADA request. If you select you want an ADA, then the accompanying form is here. There's also additional information. We try to include as many links, as much information as you might need to make your decision. So you click on this ADA form, and this basically is the form that you need to take to your doctor, or fax to your doctor, or scan and email to your doctor to complete this form. Basically what it does is it outlines what the district is currently doing, the mitigation strategies and things that are in place, and we have your doctor review all of that information. We talk about how we talked about the COVID-specific ones and those being a little more severe. And then your doctor, and the doctor completes this form, signs it, initials it, etc. And so then that would, once that's complete, you would send that to the professional standards at Lee Schools, because that's where the ADA process resides right now, is in professional standards. And so, for example, in the back end, it would say, your name, and then it would say like requesting, face-to-face, leave virtual, whatever you're requesting. Has the ADA form been received? So as soon as we receive those in real time, that person goes in, they logs it, say we received it. Then once we have we've gone through the process where we're approving it, or we may need more information, or we're denying it, then that would also get updated in that form. So that way the principals, like I said, are going to have that information in real time. And then the only differences there are, as we've talked about, is we have some more options, like for Lee Home Connect, where we have I have a child in Lee Home Connect, or that's just my preference, like I just want Lee Home Connect. And that will be sort of the guiding thing that we'll work with schools on to say, as you're entertaining your options in the positions that you have, we'll have those, the rankings and what you have selected there. And then the same thing is for Lee Virtual. And the one thing that's going to be critical to this for Lee Virtual, remember, it's a different set of processes. They have their own negotiated language. It's not the same as Lee Home Connect, and it's not the same as distance learning like we did in the spring. This is the standard Lee Virtual model, which is different expectations for teachers, different expectations for students. So I want to make sure that a teacher, before they say that Lee Virtual is my first choice, I want to make sure that you've read and reviewed that and you understand that it's not the same and that it's a different situation that you're getting into. So that's kind of why we have that there, so the teachers can see, if I'm selecting that option, here's what kind of I'm getting myself into, if you will. So that is what that will look like. Now let me go back and show you if you are not a classroom teacher. So let's say I select occupational therapist. So with the occupational therapist, we're calling it a quote-unquote face-to-face ranking. But what you would do is if you're looking for an accommodation that you could do your work remotely because of the nature of your work, you would fill out your ADA form, and then you would put that in your ADA form that due to this condition, you would need to, this is what you're requesting. And then you would still have the same options. My thinking was on this, if you do not have a qualified ADA form, but you have a high risk, then my plan would be, because there's enough people, the numbers are not so great within each of those groups, that we can work with the supervisors to say, here's the request that we have come in, let's talk through your plan and how you plan to meet the needs of students and how we might be able to navigate and meet the request of some of these employees. And that's the form. What questions do you have?
Okay, Sarah?
Thank you for explaining that, Angela. One of my questions that I have is in relation to the ADA form within this survey or form. If an employee has currently taken an ADA form to their doctor and had it filled out, will that form suffice, or do we need this specific form filled out?
Good question, because we do have received in our office and active about 15 requests right now. And some of them we can just use what they've given us. So we'll work with those employees. If it doesn't have what we need, then we may ask them to go get it refilled. So it's not an automatic, because people have already gone to trouble to do that. So it'll just depend. But our staff will work with those folks that have done that.
I also had a question about the ADA form. After somebody completes this survey, is this form going to be available somewhere else outside of the survey?
Yeah, it's always available on the district website under the ADA that you can go to through Human Resources.
And that'll be the same ADA COVID form?
Same exact, it's not a COVID form, it's just, we want doctors to know today what are the conditions by which, because a lot of the requests are going to be based on that, so we just wanted to make sure the doctors knew what we were doing.
Thank you. And then also, you said that a teacher might want to make an ADA request to have certain safety procedures or safety materials put into their classroom, such as plexiglass, but we were also told that we could make those requests. So for example, if I'm a teacher and I have a lot of small group instruction, won't I still be able to ask for those safety things?
You absolutely will. I would say to you that we just wanted to make sure, in case, somebody might have had a challenging situation, that there was a process by which they could make those requests.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin?
I also want to say, this is an important piece. Teachers also can go in and they can update their preference. Like, let's say they pick Leave Virtual as their first choice, and then they start talking to somebody and they go, oh boy, I don't want that. We're going to also take their most current application, if you will, up until the 18th. And/or let's say an ADA accommodation is not approved for whatever reason. If the employee wants to rethink what they are doing or how they're doing it, again, they can go in and update that.
I think you may have answered one of my questions, which is, when is the form due by? Like final date, submission?
Yeah, so here's what I want to say. There's no due date on ADA forms, because the law says you take them at any time. What I'm going to say to you is, though, we're going to start assigning teachers, we're going to start our review process next week Doesn't mean you can't, it's just that, if you can imagine, I can't wait to the last minute to look at 6,000 things. So as they come in, we're gonna start reviewing them.
Okay, any questions or other?
He had my question.
Anna?
Okay, this is my last question for this, I promise. I've had a lot of people reach out to me over the past week, specifically in regards to this election, and more so I think on the principal side, is are principals going to need to, like, are the ADA positions district-wide going to need to be filled on a school-by-school basis? Like, for example, if 1,000 people get an ADA requirement, those all have to be filled regardless of school, or is that going to be a school decision? I hope I'm being clear with that.
I think you are. I'm going to answer it, and then if I'm not answering your question, you just tell me. But so the ADA forms are, and the evaluation of it is a school by school because workplaces are different. But the assignment to leave virtual as an option is a district-wide option. But whether you can do Lee Home Connect, that's school by school, the schedule, but like I said, because I know even as much as this weekend, even though we told the principals that we're gonna be reviewing master schedules and working with them to see if we can accommodate teachers, that is going to happen, so that even if you've heard that, please know that we are gonna work with the executive directors and academic services and the principals to accommodate as many things as we can accommodate.
I think that clarified it very well, so thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about Christina?
When will this form be sent out, and will it be in the email, and what will we call it so people know how to look for it?
Yes, the plan is to send it out tomorrow after the principal meeting, which is at 8:30. So I'm guessing around 9:30 or 10. And it's the return to work intent and instructional model preference form. It would come through your district email unless you are a new teacher, then it would go to the email because you're not in the system yet. So it would go to your email that you supplied to us when you were hired. And yeah, so that's the plan.
Can you say the name again, please?
Return to work, intent, and instructional model preference form.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion for the form? Yeah?
I'm just curious, will staff members know possibly if they were approved or not for accommodation or just for the high risk before the start of the school year?
I sure hope so. That's the plan. Unless we just get like so overwhelmed and something happens, but that's the plan. Especially on some of the Leave Virtual ones, because there's some additional training that needs to happen and we want to provide as much time as possible for them.
Okay. Any other questions about the form? Okay, so then that will go out tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes. What is next?
Before we go to the next thing on the list, since we spent so much time talking about this form, I would just like to see if everybody's okay with the form. All right.
Okay, good.
Just wanted confirmation.
Good. Thank you, Donna. That makes sense. Okay, what is,
We have leave.
okay,
Is leave okay to go to?
Yes. Next.
or we,
Kurt, did you want to do mask before leave?
Cleaning.
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 Well, that is on the list, but okay.
cleaning, okay. Then let's start then with cleaning, so. Drew, do you want to start the cleaning discussion, or Kevin?
So I think when we start this discussion, I think the first kind of parameter we have to establish is that the classroom teacher is probably not the primary cleaner of their room throughout the school day. You know, again, we've had this discussion and we'll have this discussion, especially as we try to teach and reteach new behaviors around hand washing and other things related to COVID, that in the interim and throughout the year, as long as we're dealing with this, there's gonna have to be a sacrifice of something. You know, we can't put any more minutes in a day or any more minutes in a period. So if I need to take 5 or 10 minutes to teach hand washing or things like that, then something academically will have to suffer. But I also think, you know, teachers aren't the ones trained to be the primary cleaners of the classroom. And so I think that's probably, for me anyway, a good position to start with, is that we're not the primary, and you know, students should probably take some responsibility based on age level and maturity on helping to keep their classrooms clean as well.
Well.
I hope that hand washing is not something that's new to most people. I'm sure that Kevin was referring to younger students, but I would hope that most people have mastered that skill by a certain point. One of the things, and I think this is more story just to contribute, is as we were having discussions with SPALC, I know that one of the concerns of our support staff is that a disproportionate share of some of the work might be put on them, and that there might be things that they are otherwise normally responsible for, and some things that they're not. And so again, I know that's a separate bargaining unit, a different issue. I know that some of their people that they represent, you know, have different things written into their job descriptions, but would just want to kind of point that out and ask that people be sensitive to the fact that, you know, everyone's trying to figure out how to pick up that extra slack. And I know that they're, again, very concerned about being told that there are lots of things that they will now have to do because other people don't want to do them or don't want to be a part of that. So,
Kevin?
And I don't think that's the intent here. I also will offer that cleaning is probably not in any of my bargaining unit's job description. I'm really thinking about the ability for us to involve the students in ownership and responsibility here. And, you know, that's kind of where I'm coming from, you know, because I think especially with the older grades, we're gonna have a real opportunity for the students to take ownership. And that's part of the classroom environment anyway, is having the kids accept responsibility and take ownership for what happens in the classroom and for it to be their class. So this is, you know, in elementary school grades, every kid's got a little job they do. And so, you know, this is, again, another opportunity for us to expand on you know, teaching accountability and responsibility with the students.
Well.
yeah, and I didn't mean to imply anything by that. That's kind of been the tone of the conversation I think that we've had to date. I just, I know that was brought up with them, but I think, like you're saying, it should be a shared responsibility, and students factor into that as well.
Anything else on cleaning? Anna?
So earlier on this, a few hours ago, there was a video that was released about what face-to-face instruction would look like in the district. And in that video, we have heard in multiple videos that common area surfaces will be cleaned frequently throughout the day, but specifically about the bathroom. So I know a lot of our older grades at my school have a bathroom that they share, so that that was mentioned that, the numbers in there would be limited, there would be frequent cleaning. But my question specifically is around those of us that have restrooms in the classroom. Will that be left up to the classroom teacher to go in there and kind of wipe down the bathroom? Will someone come in? And will that kind of be on a rotation? And then I will say that even the younger kids love to help clean. So to me, that's not a problem by having my students, I don't see that as an obstacle, having my students help clean some of those common area surfaces. But my question is, will they be allowed to handle those provided cleaning wipes to wipe off their desk every so often, or a doorknob, or things like that? Will they be allowed to handle those cleaning wipes to do that?
Angela?
The first thing I want to say is I don't know that we've established that it will be wipes. That I know there's an availability and potentially some, concerns about relying on just that. So I do know we're looking at other products and things to assist, like some spray products and some other things that would be potentially a little more user-friendly because you're not putting your hands on it. So I would say that I could see if I can, talk with Dr. Savage and get some of those details about that.
Kevin?
And I guess to kind of borrow a phrase from the video that I didn't see today, a day in the life for a teacher, for me, like at the secondary level, would be the bell rings. The teacher may be standing there with the wipes, saying, okay, everybody, when you come in, don't forget to take a wipe down your desk, stuff like that. Or there'd be hand sanitizer, hey, don't forget to scrub in or get hand sanitizer on the way in and the way out. And in the elementary grades, it could very well be like Anna was describing, kind of a job. Okay, it's been like an hour and a half, let's take a minute and wipe down our desks and pass out the wipes and kind of have the kids clean their own surface, or have somebody kind of designated to be kind of a high touch frequency thing in the classroom, perhaps, but that's kind of my vision of like a day in the life related to cleaning. And then the custodial staff, who's appropriately trained, comes in and handles the deep cleaning or the afternoon cleaning, or or the bathroom cleanings like they normally would.
Right, and I'm not philosophically not disagreeing with you. I want to be careful that if they're not wipes, then I don't want to hold my hat on that, because once school starts, I don't know about availability, I don't know about cost, I don't know about, so I do know that that's why the operations and, oh, sorry.
Yes, so what Angela is referring to is we have been having a lot of supply chain issues with these Lysol or Clorox wipes. And so the primary cleaning method won't be the wipes, because we just cannot rely on the supply. But what we have found is a spray that's a ready-to-use spray that basically has a 3-minute contact timer. That is, if you spray it on a surface, it's in 3 minutes, it is ready to kill, whatever bacteria, including the COVID virus, would be on the surface. And it is not necessary to wipe it either. It can just spray and dry as opposed to wiping the surface. So what I think we can expect across the district in all of our classrooms is primary use for like desks and tables, surfaces such as that, to be the spray that we would be using, and then the wipes would be more relegated to other things that may not be conducive to a spray, such as your keyboard or some things like that. But based on what we can find and what we've ordered, that is what we can expect in terms of the primary product that would be used across the district. And this particular spray we found to be very safe, including food safe, so it would, to the touch, without gloves and all of that, it would be fine.
All right, Jill and Kevin?
So I do want to bring up some concerns when we look at, looking at Article 6 in terms of safe and secure conditions and providing sanitary work conditions. So I think to myself as a secondary teacher, I leave work at the end of the day, and I know that at high schools, or even at middle schools, and at elementaries as well, there are after-school activities. And so how are we going to keep parts of the building adequately sanitized if for some reason there is some type of inclement weather situation and students have to come back into the building, say custodial sanitized a certain section of the building, and now students are coming back in. And then I'm glad to know that we have a spray that is safe to the touch, that can be sprayed, but if it takes 3 minutes for us we have to spray it and set a timer for 3 minutes, I guess my concern, not concern, but I think about now, doing that with kids in the room or doing that during hallway change. If I were to spray the desks and a kid comes in and a minute later and puts stuff down, is it still going to adequately clean? And I just want to make sure I'm saying these things because as a high school teacher with that turnover, I want to make sure that my students, as they enter a classroom for a new period, they're coming into a clean, sanitized room each period. So I'm just wanting to get some story up there about making sure that that process of the best way to go about cleaning your room and sanitizing the desks and the materials in the room so that the children coming in enter the cleanest classroom possible. And then again, thinking about at the end of the day, making sure that once custodial has cleaned and sanitized classrooms or sections of the building, maintaining that cleanliness if for some reason our kids have to come back into the building for safety reasons like lightning and things like that. So I just wanted to make sure that those topics are being addressed for teachers.
And so Jill kind of stole some of my thunder, and again, I think it's a choice. So I'm not sure what the pastime is at the secondary level, but the bell rings. If it's a spray, I'm not sure we're gonna, even though it's food safe and stuff like that, I'm not sure of the kind of the wiseness behind handing it to students to spray their own space, because that's one at a time. But if the bell rings, I have the spray, I just go around and spray every desk. That means in order to maintain, like Jill said, kind of a neutral environment, kids can't come in until 3 minutes after the last desk is sprayed. And so typically at the secondary level, teachers are watching the hallway and watching their room. And I think this is another opportunity where we have to talk about choices and priorities. Like if I'm spraying my room, we need to at least be cognizant of the fact that I can't be at my door and I can't be watching the hallway. And then when I'm done spraying the last desk in my room, I then have to wait 3 minutes until I can let any students in, because I think in order for it to be effective, it has to be allowed that 3 minutes to dry. And so I I think we need to think this through and have a plan for that, and hopefully we do. But, think this through and have a plan for that related to what it's gonna look like on the ground when we start engaging in this activity.
All right, Carl and then Angela.
Okay, in order, and I know we have to have a plan and we have to be as specific as possible and so forth, but if we get into if it was at 2 minutes and 50 seconds, Because even if we wipe the desk off with Clorox wipes, you can't necessarily say that within, it's immediately disinfected. I mean, so I think that, so as we go through, we'll stand on top of, we want to first make sure that, you know, if it involves, there has to come some point that we're able to say, okay, this is a general plan, and understanding that there may be things that we have to work through. Because there'll be some teachers who will want to do it themselves. There will be some, because I would have probably been one of those, I'll just do it, get to my door and get it done. However, there'll be others, they'll have a system in place that the kids will know, the first kid that comes in, and they'll have it in place, and they'll be at the door. But I think that we have to, in terms of the bargainable pieces, which piece deals with bargain and which piece deals with every single piece, so that we can, you know, like I said, set structures in place so that we have time to adequately plan. But the reality of it, it says 3 minutes, even if you disinfect it with Clorox wipe, there's a period of time there. This is really about making sure we consciously and conscientiously try to make the best decisions we possibly can to try to keep our kids and our teachers and staff safe as possible, and understanding that it will take a collaborative level effort to make that happen.
Amy, Amy and
Yeah, I would like to take a 7-minute caucus, please.
Okay. All right, 7 minutes. Todd, would you like to take a caucus as well?
5:35.
to get us back on track.
Yes, we were discussing the conversation that was taking place and developed an option that we would like to put up.
Okay.
The district will ensure that each work site has adequate cleaning supplies. Teachers are not required to deep clean. However, these supplies will be available for their or student use to keep common and high traffic areas clean.
Okay, so that is our option that we have up there.
Everybody see it, or do you want me to bring it closer?
If you could come closer, that'd be great.
What was that?
Come on over.
Okay.
My bad eyes, you gotta keep going.
Kurt?
Oh, yeah, keep mask on.
Yes, please, thank you.
Would you be amenable to making a slight change to the option to say teachers are not required to deep clean or sanitize classrooms?
My concern with that is that there potentially could be a case where that could be needed. For example, if 3 custodians call out sick and there's no other staff, there could be a case, and for me, the health, safety, welfare is important, and so I wouldn't want to put that in there and have a situation where because a teacher refused to take the spray bottle and spray it, that they would refuse to do that. So I would be uncomfortable with locking that in.
Okay, we've got 2, we've got Christina, and we've got Anna.
This may not be the time to ask this question, but I think it's relevant to it. We often are told that we don't have custodial staff on a regular basis to be able to do our normal cleaning, which is fine. And teachers do step up. We do what we can do to clean our rooms, get the trash out, and have the kids clean up the rooms as much as possible. However, my question is, are there personnel that we can get as maybe substitute custodians to come in and help with the building cleaning and things like that? Because there are weeks that there are 2 or 3 days a week that or more, that we are missing 2 to 3 or 4 of our custodians. And so I just want to know if there's substitutes to be able to bring into those positions to help out.
That's one option, but probably the better option is that the district is, and SPALC is amenable to using outside contractors to come in and help with certain schools and situations where that's an issue, like if you have gang bathrooms and things like that and you don't have a custodial staff. So that's a time certain thing that we're doing with SPALC. In other words, just during this COVID period, it's not for an extended period of time. It would just be to have the over and above. And so that's the plan for that, is to use these outside contractors to help in those situations.
Yeah.
Okay, when we were talking about adding deep clean or sanitizing, you brought up the situation if that custodian was out, that the teacher may need to do some cleaning or sanitizing. So I just want to clarify because it happens quite often that custodians are out and different things don't happen. But for this specifically, so if a custodian was out and so we got an email during the day saying, hey, we're short on custodians, you know, if you guys could just make sure your rooms and your tables and stuff are wiped down. I just want to clarify what you intended by that, because am I going to now need to like take out the trash or, you know, wash my tables, and then, you know, vacuuming may not happen. But then my concern is with staggered dismissal and the time going into contract hours, am I going to be asked to maybe stay after my contract hours in order to clean? And so I just want you to clarify, please, what you meant by that.
Sure. My intent was specifically to what Kevin kept talking about, which was the desks in the classrooms. And so I'm not thinking anything beyond that. I wouldn't, and so when I say deep cleaning, to me, that's what everything except, to me, is deep cleaning. The, you know, taking the garbage out to the dump and all, that's like, in my opinion, that's like a custodial deep cleaning that they do every night. But I can't say that it's, I mean, it's gonna take all of us in order to make this work. And I can't say that a teacher is not going to have to take the spray bottle and spray across desks. I can't make that commitment. So that's why I'm uncomfortable putting that in there. You know, again, I think principals are gonna work and adjust their staff and do what they can do. But I'm not comfortable making that commitment because there's too much unknown.
I have Kevin and Bob.
Is this the language SPALC agreed to, or is ours different from theirs?
We're in the middle of revising it at this time.
Okay, Bob? Okay.
Revising it to this, away from something else?
No, to match that, just because of the concerns that I just said to you and the concerns with supplies, because we didn't know the supply concerns when we first did that language with SPALC.
Yeah, just for clarification, what are common areas? Are you referring to desks and tables? Is that, would that be considered common area?
I think there's desks and tables, but I'm thinking of a classroom where you have like a counter and kids maybe, you know, put things in the baskets on the counter and things like that. I consider that a common area.
Okay, so basically.
Teacher's desk.
Okay, we're talking desks, tables, countertops, and the other question I was gonna ask you, the high traffic areas, what is that?
High traffic areas would be, for me, like the door handle, the pencil sharpener, if there is one, anything that multiple students might engage with.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about the option? Kerr?
I think we need to caucus for just a couple of seconds or minutes before we test the option. I would like to make a request for TALC Labor Management Committee to take a look at some of these processes and, you know, how some of the instructional time, you know, how we're going to make up for some of that missed instructional time, you know, with some of these advanced cleaning processes that we're having to put into place.
Right, and I think that's a good idea. I also think, you know, the teacher task force, when they get together, might consider that as part of their conversation relative to all of that. I think some of it we won't know till school starts, and so TALC labor management would be appropriate for us to address if we need to do something.
So Kurt, you want to caucus for a few minutes?
Yeah, let's do 7.
Okay, and just know, because we kind of went with the option, I want you to wrap some of your last caucus report in with that one, because we didn't get that. We went with some questions about the option before we got there, so, okay? Thank you, we'll see you in 7. We'll get started here. What we're going to do is, obviously, we're going to get a caucus report from TALC. Kerr, I'm going to ask that you kind of give us a double caucus report, since last time we had the option and didn't really get your side of the caucus report because we had so much discussion on the option. So if you could give us some caucus updates, I would appreciate that.
All right, I'm going through my notes here. So in our first caucus report, we discussed using TALC labor management to handle some of the one-offs, some of the processes, especially dealing with lost instructional time due to some of these other cleaning procedures and the like. We also discussed, at one point, there was mention of a COVID email line or a COVID hotline that someone could report unsafe conditions to, and that would be anonymous and somewhat confidential, if that's the right word to use. And I was going to make a comment that could also go into whatever document we come up with, an MOU, so that folks know what their options are in terms of reporting it. Now, with this latest caucus, let me turn my page here. We talked about the option. What really stuck with us was some discussion around what members of the TALC bargaining unit would have to do if members of the SPALC bargaining unit weren't available, specifically, cleaning rooms. And I think to sum up our caucus, there's a really big difference between chipping in and actually asking a TALC bargaining unit member, employee, to take on the position of a custodian in addition to their own position. So I think we need a little bit more discussion about that. And we talked about some sort of hold harmless language, for disciplinary action and for, kids that don't want to adhere to the safety protocols, for parents that don't want to adhere to the safety protocols. And I think we can have some discussion around that as well.
Thank you, Kerr, and I apologize if I gave the impression that we were going to ask you to be custodians. What I meant is that I know that schools are working really hard to come up with schedules. They're adjusting custodial hours, they're doing different things so that custodians can be helping with the sanitation that's going to occur during the school day. Not normal, what I'll call normal custodian duties. Simply the custodians in an attempt to help with the sanitation side of things. And so that's what I meant with, if a school or a principal has it that custodian A goes in during, between periods and sprays and does hallway A, and then, and so for that particular day, the sanitizing of the desk doesn't occur because custodian A isn't there to do that, then I don't know who else would do it other than the teacher. And, unless it were like a high school or middle school and there was a way that the student was, you had a student rotation doing it. So that's what I meant by that, not custodian in the technical sense of the term. And as a side note, I had also, just in anticipation, and I do have some language about hold harmless that I'd be willing to put up as an option.
Okay.
Okay, it reads, and then I'll hand it over. Employees should make a reasonable attempt to enforce student adherence to hygiene practices, social distancing, and other safety protocols. Employees shall not be disciplined or held responsible for reasonable enforcement of safety protocols. The actions of students or parents, such as those who refuse to follow instructions to practice safety protocols, COVID-19 cases traced to their classrooms, or the absence of curriculum requirements that cannot be followed due to social distancing requirements or class closures.
Okay. Any comments or discussion on that?
The only other thing I would like to add is that I'm also happy to say that because we are going to need to be getting back with SPALC to revise some of their language, that if amenable, we could kind of wordsmith that, you know, in labor management, or if we're still meeting, we in here.
Okay. Jill?
So I have a question, and I know that this may just be a question or a comment about semantics, but there's a difference between cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting. And so I guess my question is the products that we're going to be provided, because we keep saying sanitize lowers the numbers of germs, disinfecting kills the germs. And I just want to know if we're going to be, either as teachers, we're going to be, the materials we're being provided are true disinfectants, or if custodial's going to have the disinfectants, and that's going to happen at the end of the day. I just want to have a clear picture of what we're going to be provided to make sure that we're killing the germs, not just lowering them or getting dirt and grime off of the surfaces.
I don't have the answer to that. I don't know if Dr. Desamores does, or if we need to get back to you and talk to Dr. Savage.
So I think the crux of your question was, you were asking what's the difference between cleaning and sanitizing and disinfecting?
I want to know if the materials are being provided, what the materials are going to be provided, what they actually do. Do they clean and disinfect or sanitize, or what we're being provided?
Well, if you're referring to the spray, when you spray it on the surface, it does all of the above, and I almost think that sanitize and disinfect is the same thing in my book, in terms of, okay, when you spray it on, it doesn't just clean, that's like surface dirt, but then it also kills any bacteria or virus, including coronavirus, within a period of time, which is why it would be a sanitizing / disinfecting spray. And so that is why, I guess, to me, the term sanitize doesn't necessarily come with a connotation that it is, I'm thinking cleaning on Saturday morning where I'm on my hands and knees with the thing and, you know, cleaning the bathroom tub. It really is more about the spray can sanitize and disinfect just by its use. So is that what you're asking?
Yes, the CDC defines them differently, and so I have a lot of teachers who are science people, teachers who are very neat freaks and germaphobes who wonder, just to make sure, are we really killing the germs? So I just wanted to ask, that's all, on their behalf.
Yeah, so that particular spray does do it, which is a different outcome, and I think a better outcome than the white would have given us.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, or I have two hands up at the same time. I have Amy and Christina.
I was just wondering if we have a name for this spray. We just keep calling it the spray. I think a lot of people will want to know if it has a name. All the Google enthusiasts out there.
It does, but I can't remember what it is, but I certainly can find it and bring it back to the group at our next meeting. I just don't recall what it is right now.
Thank you.
I just had maybe some language change in the option. I know it says the original language is teachers are not required to deep clean, however, supplies will be available for their or students' use to keep common and high traffic areas clean. if we could just narrow that down a little bit for clarity's sake. And I did come up with a statement. Teachers may be required to spray their assigned areas with district-provided disinfectant, such as desks, pencil sharpeners, door handles, tables, and counters, if custodial staff isn't available, so that there's a little more clarity and exactly what they would be asked to do.
Well,
I don't know if that was another option. I don't mean to take away from that. I know we have like an hour and some other priorities that we wanted to discuss, and wordsmithing some of that stuff, I think, again, we can maybe do some of that in labor management. My concern is that we're not going to necessarily be able to get to everything that we need to, or that we would like to this evening. And I know I was able to pull up what Jill was talking about, the difference between cleaning, disinfecting, and sanitizing on the CDC website. It doesn't say anything about the effectiveness of any of those, but again, I think that's, the method by which you remove, eliminate, make safe the environment, that seems to be pretty far into the weeds. And so again, I know the expectation was to kind of stay on topic, and I'm wondering if we're starting to drift off course.
My only hesitation with what you're saying, I don't like to list out every specific thing, because then a teacher can come back and say, but it doesn't say there that I have to spray the filing cabinet, or it could be things I'm not even thinking of. I'm not opposed to where you're trying to go with it. I just, naming things specifically boxes into a corner, in my opinion.
Kevin?
I think the clarification and the request more was based on intent as opposed to perhaps a specific list. Sometimes lists are provided to be examples and not necessarily all-inclusive. I think the concern from us is, the area under which we have daily control, like our assigned work area, What? And not like the bathroom or the hallway, or, you know what I mean? So the intent, I think, in that list is kind of listing common things in the classroom that might be considered high use and high traffic areas, but to define the things we may be responsible for to those things that we're, our assigned classroom area or our assigned area in the regular course of our job.
Yeah, and all I'm just, and I appreciate your comments there, Kevin, because all I'm trying to do is, it's gonna take us all. It's gonna be a team effort, and I just can't anticipate what I don't know. And I would hate for, something not to get sprayed or whatever because somebody digs their heels in and says, well, no, I'm not contributing today.
Okay, I have Anna and Christina.
I would like to do a straw design from this option and the hold harmless language, please.
Okay. Christina, do you want to comment before we do the straw design? Oh.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, we have.
I was just gonna say, could we change that last line from to keep common and high traffic areas clean to keep assigned work areas clean?
I'm okay with assigned classroom and work areas clean.
So, Christina, you want to add it to?
The very last line, at the word keep.
The word to keep.
Assigned classrooms and work areas.
Okay.
And get rid of high traffic.
Right.
And common.
So what you're saying is to get rid of common and high traffic areas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, not the word clean, no.
Not at the workplace, sorry.
You need to see that over there, Angela?
I can.
Okay.
That's very similar to what I was gonna say, so fine.
Okay, so you're okay? Okay. So we've had a straw, oh, wow, I'm sorry.
Make it quick.
Is the hold harmless language visible up there, or are we just going by what was said? Where is it? Okay. Okay, I see it there. All right, that's your straw design, right, Anna?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Think so. So, want to say your straw design again? Or you didn't really say it?
Do I need to read the whole thing?
Or just-
Well, just the options.
We have one. Let's say this is option one. That's option 2. And this is option 3.
All of those.
All of those,
Okay,
1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Okay. So,
That labor management would address some of the pieces.
Thank you, I just wanted to make sure I could do that.
I would also like to test that.
okay, do we need to read the straw design with all the options, or are we all okay with what's up there?
I think we're all okay. I want to hear,
Okay.
Want to hear them?
Yes.
oh, yeah, I'm supposed to live with that.
Okay.
He wants to hear the options.
Okay, so the options are, the district will ensure that each work site has adequate cleaning supplies. Teachers are not required to deep clean, however, supplies will be available for their or student use to keep assigned classroom and work areas clean. TALC labor management will address some of the process issues. Employees should make a reasonable attempt to enforce student adherence to hygiene practices, social distancing, and any other safety protocols. Employees shall not be disciplined or held responsible for reasonable enforcement of safety protocols. The actions of students or parents, such as those who refuse to follow instructions to practice safety protocols. COVID-19 cases traced to their classroom, or the absence of curriculum requirements that cannot be followed due to social distancing or class closures. So those 3 together are the requested straw design. Amy?
Oh, sorry, you're looking right at it, don't you?
Just one possible suggestion too, the part in the option where it says cleaning supplies would be available for teacher or student use. Instead of saying or student use, we may want to put the word and in there, and teacher and student use.
Okay. Right, Angela, are you okay with changing the word? Okay, good, Angela indicated the answer is yes, she'll change that. Kevin?
Oh, thank you. Do we also want to put a notation in here that the district will be providing them, the cleaning supplies? Oh, it does, okay. Sorry, Anna, I can't see it.
Yes, I'm sorry. Okay.
The beginning of number 1.
Okay. So we had a request to build a straw design with those 3 options. Oh, I'm sorry, Carl?
Okay, I mean, I can live with it, we'll go forward, but I'm still, the only part I was questioning was, I'm not quite clear why. I think it's important to put in contract language. I'm just not sure why the part about the responsibility of what parents do and that type of thing applies to this part of the language. I mean, I don't doubt that, I'm okay with having language in there, I just don't see the flow of it, because if I was looking for that in a contract, I'm not sure that's where I would find it.
Kurt?
I probably shouldn't ask that.
No, that's a good question. It says that employees shall not be disciplined for the actions of students and parents. So it's not saying what the students or parents should or should not do. It's that the employee is held harmless if they're doing everything they need to do and the students and parents are not.
No, I'm okay with saying it, I'm not clear on why it was in it. Okay, thank you. All right, you understand what I'm saying?
Okay, so we have a straw design of 1, 2, and 3. Do we want to test the straw design?
Yes.
Okay. I see all okay. So congratulations, you got that one done. Okay. What's that? Correct. Where's the list of the other stuff?
I was kind of jumping ahead because I know masks was a concern, so I put my option up there to start the discussion. It's just the initial draft of it, because I know there were some concerns about that, so I just put it up there to start the discussion.
Okay. Good. Oh, right up here, okay, I got you. There you go. I didn't look at the screen. If I could've just looked at that, okay.
Can we just slide that over so we can see the screen, please?
Okay.
Thank you so much. And then on that.
Can we enlarge that, please?
Okay, so we have an option to start with that Angela has put up. That option reads, the parties recognize the importance of wearing masks and other personal protective equipment, PPE, in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Since the district is mandating the wearing of masks, the following will apply. A cloth mask will be provided to all employees. PPE will also be provided for students in the employee's care. If an employee forgets, misplaces required PPE, no disciplinary action will be taken against the employee. However, refusal to wear a mask is not acceptable. So that's the start. Kevin.
So, and some of this is going to relate to teachers who teach the younger students. For the younger grades and even some of the older students who, meet with an SLP, like sound formation is critical. And so part of that is I need to see your mouth when it makes the sound, and you need to see my mouth when it makes the sound. And so, as I think we're all learning, masks get in the way of facial expressions. So, is face shield interchangeable with this? I see the clear mask, but are you going to be providing a cloth clear mask?
Where did you get that? I'm just never gone. For the 25. You can make them out quicker.
Could you do a model, please? Could you please model that?
Can I get mine in blue?
I think there's the face shield alone, we heard from Beth Whiff, remember, was not enough. So I'm gonna maybe defer to Jessica so she can talk a little bit about the plan. somebody could help me give her the microphone.
I know Christine had her hand up.
And I'll also ask Christy to jump in here as appropriate. So the mask is going through policy with the board, Christy? So we'll be going through board policy. So there was a draft that went through that is being looked at and edited right now. But in response to the face shields, one thing in there is that face shields in and of themselves would not be sufficient, that a mask would be required. Now, we did talk about the potential of some people based on an ADA need or something, having just a face shield, but those will be taken on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you. And that was my second question, was there an option for somebody who had a legitimate need, medical, that could, you know, quantify that to have them exempt? And then also, what about our teachers, and I'm just gonna lump support staff in too, teachers and support staff who deal with students for whom a mask may not be enough protection? Are there plans to have enhanced PPE for those teachers and support staff?
So in those cases, what we proposed is for those individuals to have a mask and a face shield, and then even in some cases, potentially a disposable gown that they could have accessible to them, so they would have access to all 3 levels of PPE, like a gown, face shield, and face mask.
And is it a cloth mask for the entire year, or are we talking about a rotation, a replacement rotation? Do you know yet?
I think your question is how many cloth masks does an employee get? Like, do they just get one, or, well, each location is being provided a number of cloth masks. So we are anticipating that each employee would need about 15, throughout the year, and be able to, wash those and interchange those. So that is the allocation upon which locations have, we built locations to receive the cloth mask for employees.
Yeah, that's fine, but again, language matters, and it just says like a cloth mask will be provided. So I just wanted to make sure that there was an appropriate kind of rotation of fresh supplies as needed.
Yeah, so, I would be amenable to just taking that word "a" out and saying cloth mask, plural.
Okay. Anna?
Okay, my first question is, will there be opportunities for us to provide like a mask break for students in the room? Do you want me to keep going through all the questions, or just one at a time?
My request would be that we deal with adult masks first.
Okay.
And then I'm happy to then go talk about student masks and see if we need an option there or just answer questions.
And I will save my questions.
Okay, Bob?
That you were next, trying to say.
Okay.
For our concerns about the instructors that we need to see the kids' mouths, they need to see our mouths, the masks that Angela's wearing now, if we request those, would they be provided for teachers and students in certain situations?
Those requests could be made with the principal and would be an allowable purchase. And if it's But if it's a health reason, that would be an ADA accommodation, and that's why I put that under the face-to-face, remember, on the option. But if it's for instruction purposes, I think you just work directly with your principal and tell them what you need.
Okay, thank you.
Right, based on student need.
I believe that, I think we were all under the assumption that, back a couple of weeks ago, that we were gonna have the option of either a mask or a shield. And now, basically, we're being told, no shields, but you can wear
No,
a
you
mask.
can wear a shield, but you have to have a mask.
with it.
And again, I'm gonna say what, Bob, unfortunately, I've said since the beginning, this stuff changes every day. So when the CDC and the DOH changed their guidance, we changed what we're doing, so.
So the decision is from the CDC then, as far as?
I don't remember if it was a combination of CDC or Department of Health, I'm not sure, but we did it based on what we were told.
Okay,
So-
I'd just like to know where that came from.
Sure.
Just because it has been changing.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
I've got Sheena and Jill.
Just a clarifying question, for itinerant staff members, would they be provided masks at the school sites or by the department?
Good question. At the school sites is where you would get them. I know departments were given a small set of supplies, but maybe not enough for.
And Jill?
So I have two questions. Question one, if I'm in my classroom by myself during my planning, can I remove my mask and work without a mask on?
You're talking permanently remove the mask, or I guess?
Just during my planning, so that however many minutes, if I'm in my classroom and I'm there by myself working independently during my planning time, there's no students, there's.
Yeah, you can take your mask off, yes. Just like here currently at the district office, if you're in your office and there's nobody in there with you, you don't have to wear your mask.
And then going back to some of the questions we've had about where students might need to see someone's face and the teacher could need to see a student's face. If the teacher had a piece of plexiglass, like when we go to Publix or when we go to those other things, so say I had like a plexiglass stand and I was on one side and the student was on the other and I needed an SLP or an ESE teacher, if that piece of plexiglass was there as a barrier, could both parties remove the mask to do instruction?
Don't know, we'll find out.
Okay.
I would like to test my option unless there's more questions.
Okay. So we've had a request to test the option. Kirk?
We changed a face mask to plural face masks, correct?
We did.
Yeah, it's on the screen. Thank you. I was looking for the chart again. All right.
Jill?
One more question, and it may be redundant. If I'm a Home Connect teacher, and again, I'm in my classroom by myself, no adults, no students, and I'm doing Home Connect on the computer, can I take my mask off? Like, I guess my question is, as long as I'm alone in my classroom, my mask can come off.
Yes, that's correct.
And Christina?
Good question.
And I think to Jill's point, we might want to add some language in there that talks about time allotment as far as masks are worn for the entire day, or also when masks have to be put on. Are they put on when somebody first steps on campus? If, for example, my school, all the hallways are outside, when does somebody have to, at what point does somebody have to put on a mask?
I believe that's all addressed in the toolkit. If not, then it will be once the mask policy is officially adopted.
Okay, thank you.
Kirk?
Thank you. I don't have the proposed board policy in front of me. I'm curious if there's a sunset date for this, or is this, will this policy only be in effect with, influenza type pandemics, or what are the frameworks?
When I saw it, it was COVID specific. but I was gonna put, masks should be worn according to something, right? Is that what we're looking for, according to current district guidelines? Would that cover it?
Okay, does that,
I think so, I mean, that, and, I mean, the MOU will have a sunset date on it as well, I didn't know how long the board policy would also be enforced.
Yeah, and I think in general, that we had said that maybe the MOU we talked on, I think on that first night, that it would be, like, I think we said until the end of the school year, or until, like, COVID goes away, whichever comes sooner.
Christina? And then Bob?
Could we also add after district guidelines where somebody could find those guidelines? So if it is in the toolkit, could we just add district guidelines found in the toolkit or found?
Can we also add to that Roman numeral 1, cloth masks and shields will be provided to all employees? Because they're gonna have the option of wearing both, right?
They're not gonna be provided to all employees, though. We haven't purchased enough for all.
Might have shields, right?
Is there a way of getting something in there where shields is mentioned as far as?
Okay. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
does that cover that, Bob?
Thank you.
Okay, so, any more changes to the option?
Angela has a question.
Are we okay if, due to, in some cases where it may be more PPE, if we said refusal to wear appropriate PPE is not acceptable?
Okay. And once we get all these changes, I will read it back once, just so that we're all on the same page. Okay. Okay, so is that all of our changes? All right, so the new option reads, the parties recognize the importance of wearing masks and other personal protective equipment, PPE, in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Since the district is mandating the wearing of masks, the following will apply. Cloth masks will be provided to all employees. PPE will also be provided for the students in the employee's care. Face shields will be provided to employees upon request. If an employee forgets or misplaces required PPE, no disciplinary action will be taken against the employee. However, refusal to wear appropriate PPE is not acceptable. Masks should be worn according to the current district guidelines, which are located in the district reopening schools toolkit. How does that sound now?
We got a question.
Yes, Christina. I had to come from behind the.
I have some teachers who are asking about wearing scrubs. Would this be an appropriate place to be able to address that before we?
No, this is about the masks and the face shields and all of that.
So can we address scrubs at some point tonight, please?
If we have time, absolutely.
Anna? And then Rachel?
I just want to clarify with face shields, because it says face shields will be provided to employees upon request. I think maybe we need to say something about, however, they cannot be worn alone, or they must be worn in.
To be worn in combination with.
In addition, we can't. Yes, very good.
I like that, Carl.
Good catch up.
Okay. And now Rachel?
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay. There we go. So we got that set. Okay. Bob?
Just one quick note too. Would goggles come anywhere in there too? Goggles? Right. Is goggles part of this too? In other words, we know that can be.
We're not providing goggles.
No?
No, face shields and masks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good question.
I just added reopening toolkit and board policy, since there eventually will be a board policy.
Okay. Thank you, Angela. Okay. With the addition of the end board policy and also the words face shields cannot be worn in lieu of a mask, are we ready to test this option? Okay, so we'll test it. I don't.
Good on this side.
We're good on this side too. All right.
I can't circle it, no, I'm just gonna write that.
Okay. Perfect. So we have mask option, and that's circled in orange. Okay. Donna, what else did you have on the? Okay. I didn't want to do anything. All right. Kerr, the three things left are leave, hazard pay, and discipline. Which one do you want to go to first?
What was discipline in reference to masks?
Okay, I believe so. So I think the other language should.
Put that next to that's done.
Right, so we'll put that, okay, so we'll do that one next. It's done, congratulations, that's the fastest thing you got off the list. Okay, so then you have hazard pay and leave. So, Kerr, where would you like to go next?
I will defer to Dr. Brooks. I don't know if we have enough time to really tackle all of leave. I mean, we may.
Well, you had said well-being, so I just had an option for well-being, if we wanted to look at that real quick.
Okay.
Okay.
Here you go, Donna.
So we'll start with that then. And the option that we have here is the district will implement a plan to support the well-being and mental health of students and staff and will provide adequate staffing to administer said plan. Kurt.
The real reason why we put employee well-being and enhanced mental health benefits with EAP is because a lot of folks are just not aware of all of the EAP benefits that are out there. I really wish Bonnie was here so that she knew the real reason why we added it to the list. Because-
She's here, she's just virtual.
Oh, great, I'm so
Yeah.
glad Bonnie can hear this, because we worked hard in Insurance Task Force to enhance a lot of these benefits to include telehealth benefits. So I think as we craft the language, just having all of these benefits in one place will be very beneficial to employees over the course of the school year.
Okay, so we've got a request to list these benefits.
We don't necessarily need a running list, but rather a reference to where they can be found.
Okay.
And again, for Bonnie's benefit and for everybody else's benefit, we're having her at our first rep meeting to go over the enhanced EAP stuff with our building reps later in the month, so that, you know, because sometimes they'll be the point of contact for an employee as well. So we want everybody to kind of know the new stuff that's out there. A lot of people think of EAP as one particular thing, when in reality it's about 100 different things. And so, yeah, like I said, we're gonna have her at our meeting to share that with the reps, and hopefully that'll funnel down to people, and they can use it if they need it.
And Bonnie just texted about her being at the rep meeting and sharing all that with you.
Okay, so do we need to have anything written to add to this option for that, or?
I'm gonna do a straw design of the language Dr. Pruitt brought up with the district will, and then kind of the reference to posting where the benefits can be found.
Okay, then we have the straw design of this option that the district will implement a plan to support the well-being and mental health of students and staff, and will provide adequate staffing to administer said plan, and then add to it EAP and telehealth benefits having in one place will be helpful in reference for reference to the said plan. So that's our straw design. With those two things together. So with that, do we want to test that straw design?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, so we had a request to test that straw design, and, I'm sorry, Angela, did you have, okay. Okay, then, I see all, okay. Yeah, we even have some thumbs up, so that's a good thing. Okay. So then that gets us down to, oh, sorry, Kevin?
You can go ahead, I'll make a comment.
What was that?
I was gonna say, you can go ahead, we have 20 minutes left, and honestly, considering kind of cleaning was what we thought was one of the easy ones, I would assume we're gonna start something and probably not be able to work all the way through one of the ones that's left. Unless we wanna, and this is against a couple of people's expectations, but maybe start the story around scrubs possibly. I don't know, willing to do any of the two we got left starting, and then start the discussion around scrubs.
I can answer better where my feelings are, if I understand hazard pay and what your thoughts are or questions are around that. Because you had brought that up as an item, and I just didn't really know where you were going with that, so I wanted to just get some information.
All right, the two things on there we have are hazard pay and leave, are two of the things that were still on the list.
The discussion around hazard pay was around any of the TALC bargaining unit members that would be staffing or working in the isolation room. I know we already talked about spout bargaining unit employees being that point of contact, but the nurses may be, or any type of TALC bargaining unit employees that would have increased contact, you know, with a student due to the job that they do.
So,
Yeah.
And just to add, I know we haven't discussed the expectation of school social workers or itinerary-based employees to complete home visits, but I also think that there may be a discussion as well in reference to hazard pay, that if it is an expectation, with the increased exposure to those staff members.
Angela?
No, I just want to listen so I can know, part of me would, I would do some exploring on what other districts are doing, what might be a normal, just kind of get a feel for what's going on in the state. So that's why I just like to know what you're thinking of so I can be prepared.
Okay, good. Kevin?
And not to put Will on the spot, but he and I'm only doing it because I don't remember like the factors we had talked about, when the pandemic started. I know there were some employees, primarily SPALC employees, who received hazard pay early on in the coronavirus because they were doing things, that put them at greater risk. And I know, Will, you and I had discussed kind of like a three-tiered or a three-pronged kind of test of whether or not, hazard pay would exist. And so I think that might help, enlighten and steer the combination and maybe separate the itinerants from somebody who's doing Lee Home Connect or somebody who's doing Lee Virtual, that kind of three-pronged test as well.
So I would start by kind of clarifying, I don't think that the term hazard pay was used specifically in any of the other arrangements that were made. And I think some of that is because, and I know that we've discussed this in labor management, that kind of becomes a slippery slope term that, there's hazard and risk no matter where you go, whether it's work-related or in your personal life. And so the pay that was available to the food service workers that were doing the mobile feed programs, that was emergency duty pay, and that was because they were being asked to do their regularly assigned duties in different circumstances where they were having to distribute food on lines, in parent drop-off or bus ramps or wherever else. We had people that were moving to different locations, but the part that Kevin is referencing is that we did have kind of three factors that were discussed, including increased contact with the public, use of PPE and health screening, and some other things. That MOU has expired. We did have then, as a result, and this is just, again, kind of story, requests from bus operators, mechanics, field turf specialists, tree trimmers, and everyone else, that you can imagine saying, I'm still having to come to work, there's still, a hazard. That's one of the concerns that I have. I know that we, again, in labor management, discussed concern up front, and this is going back to about March, with the decrease in state revenue, with the loss of incoming tax dollars, and the strain that might put on places such as the school districts that are funded by tax dollars. And so if we've got limited available funds and competing resources, there was some discussion about whether the continued emergency duty pay would be the best use of those funds, or if committing that to other resources that help keep people safe, if that would be a better use of, again, those limited resources that we're concerned about scarcity and don't know kind of where things are going. Again, those were early on conversations. I'm not sure that there has been much conversation since March or April around that, other than, as Kerr mentioned, some of those people that may come into direct contact with students in kind of that isolation room, or that are doing some of the health screenings, that kind of stuff.
Okay, one thing I did want to bring up now, we are at under 15 minutes to go. So One thing we would have to work on is a calendar for any other meetings we're going to need to do this. So I'll open up to all of you as to how you want to handle that. Angela, Kerr,
We have Thursday, right, scheduled. And, but we couldn't start till 5 because of insurance and task force. So 5 to 8 on Thursday. And we have, I mean, let's see how far we get, I guess, on Thursday, and then we can schedule for next week if we don't accomplish everything we need to.
Kevin?
I do think, again, 15 minutes ago when we kind of started, I don't think there's anything, I didn't think there was anything left that we were going to be able to kind of wrap up in the half an hour we had left. But again, this is a place, and I think I wanted the context around the emergency duty pay and like the 3-prong test and things like that to kind of come out and we are competing with scarce resources. Funding has always been an issue, at least for the past 20 years in Florida, around per pupil allocation. And, there is some money out there. Hopefully CARES Act, HEROES Act, whatever, HELPS Act gets passed and signed into law, and we get some extra money for public schools to kind of have the money necessary to do this the right way, as opposed to on the cheap, which is how we typically get funded. But again, I think it's worth kind of the idea around, if we were to do any kind of an emergency pay thing, who would qualify based on the kind of the test that, Will and I, we had spoken about related to exposure to the public, time, that kind of thing around the circumstances. Because I think, honestly, we're worse off today than we were in March. And simply because somebody said it went away by signing a paper doesn't necessarily mean it went away. And if, the conditions that closed us in March, I think a lot of us would kind of almost dream for at this point in a morbid kind of way, as opposed to where we are now. So, I think a couple of days to think about, where money, what positions, and kind of continue this conversation around that may be beneficial on Thursday.
Okay, so first, I guess the first question I would have is, do we want to take a vote for a Thursday from 5 to 8 as the next session? Okay, so do I see okay, so I see all either up or sideways, so we'll do Thursday, August 6th from 5 to 8. Kerr?
Can we go ahead and pencil in Monday as well, just to go ahead and put it on people's calendars? I know folks have to worry about childcare and other things, and just don't want to spring it on them at the last minute.
So request for a Monday session. What does Monday look like? What do calendars say?
Open.
Angela, how is?
I'm not sure due to the board meeting the next day, so I'm really can't commit just yet, but I can let you know.
Okay.
So this team will let you know.
Okay. Okay, so it looks like we can't put that in for sure yet, but we can also see how Thursday goes. So we have, in theory, 9 minutes left. Do we want to discuss some? Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, Bonnie. I don't know.
Bonnie, we can't hear you. Hold on.
Dad's not doing his job.
Yeah. Time on that. What is the time, what are the hours on that?
We didn't talk about that yet. We're just, I think probably they have a. Okay, well, the first part of that, Bonnie, what day is that?
Thursday.
On Thursday, okay. Okay. Then on Thursday, we'll wait until we hear Anna.
Is it possible for us on Thursday to possibly go a little longer? To try and get some of this stuff done, so it's not continuously more and more days? Just my idea. Could we do like 5 to 9?
Let me check with my team and I'll get back with you on this.
You can say no, it's okay.
Well, there's part of me that wants to get it done like you rather than come another night, but I also don't want to stay till late and then stay late several more days next week. So, because once these teacher forms start coming back in, HR is going to be on a 24-hour clock. And so so there's that part of me that really does want to soldier on and get it done. So if we can, we will. Yeah. And maybe we can talk about the priority and the order and the really doing that and the focus of that. And then if we need more time for questions to be answered, we can certainly do that as well.
Okay. Then we'll keep it as it is for right now, 5 to 8, and we'll see where we go with that. Jill, did you have a?
No, never mind.
Okay. So we'll do that for Thursday then. Anything else that we need to discuss before we would do checkout?
Is there anything on our list?
Okay. Are we ready for a checkout or is there more we need?
We're ready.
Okay, ready to check out? Okay. Then I'm going to give you back 6 minutes of your day and we'll reconvene on Thursday. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.